the wounds from the past. And I don't know, Lewis or Caitlin, into what regards that is the case for you guys. But yeah, we all have lived like at least 30 years, if
30-ish?
I maybe
25.
25. Yeah. So we all have something that we bring along.
Yeah.
And maybe just a note for in the future, maybe we should have made this a 5-week class where we first step into like look at ourselves before we join together in holy matrimony. Just all that to say.
Well, just if I can just quickly add
Yes,
on to
ma'am.
that is that so again, as we were planning this out and breaking it down, we're like, wow, there's a lot of individual work that you can do before you bring it together into a marriage, or at least a lot of self-awareness and self-discovery, as Angela said, with what Justin poignantly said, even of course while you're married, while you're in your relationship. So just know that's what we love though with the beauty of this beta course is that you guys are lifers. You guys are in this lifelong. So by the time we actually record this and create something that people can do on their own time and schedule, you guys, it's going to be such a polished product that you guys will actually have helped build and create. And so in all of that is going to be for you guys. So
Yes,
even if we
ma'am.
don't offer it like right now, if we're as we're kind of learning, like, oh, that would have been good there, you guys will ultimately have access to it. So we just
Yeah,
want to make sure we share that
just
with you
for that to
guys.
say.
Yes.
That we do have quite a lot to share, to cover tonight. And we'll see how it all goes. And yeah, let's just take it one step at a time. I do hope that Angela is okay, that she's still there. She can still hear us,
Yes.
and that she wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm just thirsty.
Okay, please take your
Oh,
time, do whatever you feel like. I just wanted to
yeah.
check in there. So, first evening, the first class, first
Yes. Here we
lesson in this
go.
program, our marriage, but that would be a
Really.
bit wrong, right? It should be all about you guys' marriage, not so much ours. So, in the first lesson, yeah, start with a little intro here. In this first lesson of our 4-week short or 5-week course program, where you can grow from surviving to thriving. In this first lesson, we are going to focus on the marriage, which should always come first. And because it is the most important aspect of the family, because as we all know far too well, is that without the marriage, there is no family. And of course, it would be impossible to share everything that has ever been written or ever been shared in knowledge all about the marriage. We cannot share that in like one class.
Believe me, we tried.
So we are going to try. We tried to narrow it down to take a little bit more of a narrow scope and see like, okay, what do you need in order for you to build your happy family, happy marriage?
The fundamentals, basically.
Focusing on what we believe to be our fundamentals, and we are already looking forward to you guys' feedback to see if that resonates, if we miss something. Do you agree? Maybe you guys have different fundamentals, but we'll see as we go along. We'll share with you how we perceive marriage, our marriage, from experience, but also we looked into some research, some scientific research, to see if we can back up what we find, what we think is good. Because we are on a crusade to turn the tide in your favor and make sure that you belong in that 30% bracket.
And what's that? 30%?
Exactly. The 30% of the people, the remarried couples that do make it. So we'll share with you our perception, how we go about it, and share with you our philosophy. Now, you can quote me on this one, but I always say that the knowing is in the doing. You don't know how something is unless you actually do something. So that's why.
That really backs up Luis's apology language, by the way. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Yeah, knowing and doing is two separate things. So we'll share with you tonight what we know, but it's actually when you start applying that, you'll see there how it works for you. Maybe as we go along tonight, maybe you'll think like, I already know all this and this stuff is not new to me. I hope not, but maybe. Should that be the case, I would like to ask you to remain open-minded.
Yeah.
When you close that door and you think like, no, I know everything and I know it all, and nothing new can come in. So please try to remain open-minded. Let it come as it comes to you.
Yeah.
Just and try to think like, what does it all add up to in the end? Like if you take the bigger picture, maybe there's something, I hope, that we can help you guys in some way.
Yeah, because I mean, guys, we know that if you knew everything, like every magic, point of what is a happy marriage, you probably wouldn't be here. Not to say that your marriages aren't happy, but we know that in step families, there's been a brokenness and there's been some things that have been off. So we really want to help you guys maybe look at things a little differently, and honestly and ultimately discover your own answers. We're going to try to actually pose more questions, as you guys have already seen this week, and help you guys come to your own answers. And we're not claiming like everything that we do is perfect, because we know that that's not what life is about. I mean, very honest, a lot of what we're going to share with you guys in this entire crash course is actually a lot of our mistakes, a lot of our failure that we've learned from, that we did wrong at first, and we're just trying to perfect more and more every day. So that's why we want to focus on what we believe to be the fundamentals, the essentials in building a healthy marriage, basically getting to the basics. That way you guys are, if I can steal a quote from Disney, you guys are on your way to a happily ever after.
You always make.
And so thank you. Kim said I can always quote Disney, so look out. The quotes are going to come. So ultimately, we just hope, as this quote says, guys, that you guys remain open-minded. You don't forget to see the bigger picture, because what we share with you does consist of a lot of small, simple things, a lot of things that may seem like, oh, well, yeah, duh. But when you bring them all together, that's of course when it connects. Just like here, it states that your thoughts become your words, to your actions, your habits, and eventually it leads to your character and your destiny, which you guys as individuals that have now come together as one in a marriage, you're actually creating the destiny of your children. You're creating this path for them to walk in, whether it's children that are already born or children that you guys will continue to have together. So you may actually be surprised in how all this adds up, and be surprised of actually all this beauty and love that you guys will basically bathe yourself in, that you guys will see. And we're just so happy that, you guys are here, and we're just encouraged to see you guys all take this commitment for your family.
That's very well said.
Thank you.
At this point, I would like to introduce a first theme, topic, concept, which is Kolb's learning cycle. Basically a 4-stage cyclical process that will never end as long as we're living, basically. But every time you learn something new, you kind of go like through all those quarters. Is that the way to say it?
Quadrants,
maybe. That one. And tonight, in this phase of the program, we'll be focusing on the lower half. We'll be sharing with you some concepts. And because you've already lived some time, you can also then ponder and reflect upon, what are we saying? Have you been there in experience? Have you experienced any like that before? But it's only after that tonight's class ends and you go actively experiment with them, and you have that experience, that's when the learning cycle really starts.
I do want to add here really quickly that this Kolb learning cycle was actually new to me as part of the research that we did when prepping this course. And just so you guys know, if you want the slides to this, if you guys want a copy of it, we'll more than happy provide it to you guys. So, because to me, I look at this and I'm like, I want it. Awesome. Caitlin was thinking that, because I was like, man, I want to print that, because it really helps connect even all the wisdom that you guys gained this week. I love it. Please get nerdy on us. Take notes. Yeah, we want you guys to take this beyond the screen, right? Take these lessons into your real life. And so anything that we share here, you guys, we absolutely will get you guys the resources to move on forward. So that's all I wanted to add.
And like I said before, try to experiment with it. Try it out. It may not always be easy, and it will definitely not always work from the first time. but where there's a will, there's a way. Is that a way of saying in English?
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
Wow.
And so, yeah, try it out. Absolutely.
Oh, they're gonna love that point
Well,
when we get to the sex position lesson.
yeah.
That's our bonus material. Luis was like, "Wait, what?" Taking notes, Luis. Taking notes.
I can thank my wife for that. But anyway, the real learning, the real transformation will occur when you keep coming together with your spouse time and time and time again.
Yeah.
And you continuously grow together.
Yeah. And what's great about that, guys, is your marital foundation, as we just said a few moments ago, it really is the foundation, not just for your family now, but for generations to come. So looking at the children in your family right now, and I know that all of you guys watching, Angela, you and Justin just had a child, but Caitlin and Luis and, Yiv and Meryl, you guys want to have children. So you're really building a foundation for as this epic tower. It must be in Dubai or somewhere. I don't know. That's where all the tallest buildings in the world are. But you're building a strong foundation for them. And that's what's great is I think what's amazing, what we know is amazing because we experience it in our own marriage, is when you have a step family, there's been a brokenness. And I think from Kim's own perspective in mind, you guys want to show your children what real love looks like. They've seen brokenness, they've seen the way that it shouldn't be, they've seen the way where it's gone toxic and maybe not the way that God designed, but you get that second chance. You get to build that strong foundation for your kids, and so that they hopefully will get it. They will, when they make their own decisions of their life partner, that they'll look at love through the lens of your example.
Right.
Yeah.
So that everyone
can thrive.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Not you guys, but also your kids and their kids and their kids. And yes, please, building a legacy. Like my wife already said, we now have a golden opportunity to grab that second chance and love right, not only for us, but for our entire families. But now, before we really dive into the marriage part, I remember in a not too distant and I remember that it left me just like a mental and an emotional shipwreck. Recovering from a breakup was one of the hardest things that I ever had to do. And even though I never was married before, and if it wasn't for this amazing woman, I probably never would have. But I was just utterly and totally devastated. There was not a lot left of me. I was just a wasteland. And I came to a point in my life where I did not recognize the man that I saw in the mirror. I remember that my mind was filled with lies and self-condemnation. Yeah, that's what did become of me. So I literally had to rebuild myself. If I was ever going to do anything else in life, I was in a place that I really had to question every thought that came to me. And it's become a habit, and I always keep doing so, thinking, is this true? All these thoughts that have flocked together in my mind over the last 40 years, what is actually true? What is not? What is actually, how do I know what is right? How do I know what is true? And exactly what is actually, how much of those thoughts and ideas are actually mine? And which ones did other people put in my head? They were planted there by other people. It's also because I'm a teacher. I had this little kid growing up, like a 3, 4, 5-year-old, going to school, having my own students, seeing friends of hers, seeing how the teachers acted to them. And it just made me wonder, made me realize that a lot of what other people say to us about us has actually very little to do with who we really are. It says so much more about them, and what they think in the end does not define me. That was a lesson, a hard lesson for me to learn. I don't know if you've ever seen this image. It's like all these blind folks, and they all
think they're touching, or they
yeah,
experience something
exactly.
different, I
They're
guess.
touching this elephant, and one thinks, "Hey, it's a brick of a wall of bricks." Oh no, it's a tree. Oh no, it's a rope. Oh no, it's a snake. Well, in the end, all these opinions of all these scattered people do not say anything about the elephant. Does not
Right.
say anything about who we are in total. So yeah, I was on a highway to rediscovering myself, and I choose. Where are we here? Yeah,
You were
wanting to get
scattered,
back
yeah.
to my core, back to my essence.
Mm.
The one thing that's in common in all of those blind people, because I remember thinking, who am I? Well, I'm. If I look at other people around me in my life, I was a son and a brother and a father and an uncle and a teacher and a friend and a neighbor. So yeah, what's the common denominator there? I feel all these different roles make me look like all different people, like I was scattered all over the place. And so I had to fall back to like, what is there? What is there? What is, who am I? What is there of me? Rediscovering who I am. And well, I definitely choose not to let it all be in vain at that point. Doesn't matter how I got there, but I just accepted that there had to be a reason for it all. And I realized that if I have ever were to build myself up again, I had to be more aware of what's going inside of my head, and thinking and just tackling one thought at a time. Where do these thoughts come from anywhere, and what do they actually mean? It's said that you are not your thoughts. Thoughts may be just like little leaves and branches that are in the river, but they are not the river. Or when you look up at the sky and you see all these clouds, yeah, you'll see clouds, but they're not the sky.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
This is something I think I shared with you.
Yes, ma'am.
I was like, "Oh, baby, what you're going through reminds me of the Bible verse to take every thought captive." You know, and you think about taking captive, it's like taking control of it instead of letting your thoughts control you. You control those thoughts. And I know that whether you've been through a divorce or not, I had to use this spiritual principle, a lot of what Kim's talking about here, to overcome food addiction, overcome, a lack of self-worth. So it's no matter if you are a spouse in a situation that's come from a broken marriage or just struggles in life. Like Kim said, we're all at least 25 here, barely, I know some of us, but we've lived life. And this is one strong foundation that we feel you can bring your marriage, is by having this self-discovery in yourself and reclaiming who you are.
Yeah.
No.
Now, I've always been kind of a lingo nerd, and I've came across this discipline, like being the disciple within, like this inner thing, being the disciple of you, because you are in the end in charge of what goes on within.
Yeah.
I knew that if I ever wanted to reinvent myself, I had to let go of all the lies and all the hurts that are hidden way, way, way deep within me. The only way to do so is that whenever they would rise, not try to repress them. I always compare it to a balloon. If you want to try and keep it underwater, it's hard. It will always have a tendency to rise. And my question is, how many of those balloons can we keep underwater? Because in the end, I learned how to embrace all these things that were going on within me, both the good ones, but also the bad ones. If you want to air out your basement, you have to open the door. You cannot do that with closing all the doors and windows. So open it up, give them an opportunity to rise, let them come through you, and then surrender, and then just let go. And this kind of like how I went about that.
Yeah.
It taught me to trust the process. Is something that I very much learned. What is wrong, right? I think it's wrong to not talk about it, to repress your emotions, because when you do so, at some point your emotions will control you and they will come out. I think, Angela, you already mentioned the volcano earlier.
Yeah, that's Angela. That's your image right there.
And well, they will come out one way or another, and it'll be the wrong way at the wrong time, aimed at the wrong person, and most often it's the people that we love most is going to be aimed at.
I think something I have to jump in and add really quickly is something that Kim wrote in his notes, but he didn't exactly say right away, was that we also need to be careful not to judge our emotions either, because I think it's that cycle of like, I feel bad because I feel bad. It's like that vicious cycle of, you're like, wait, or I feel ashamed because I'm ashamed. So it's like taking that judgment out and like really owning. Even Luis, it reminds me of your story, like with the apology, like restitution, like don't judge that so much, is what I would encourage you, is like, okay, so it is what it is. It doesn't mean that it's good or bad. It's just how you experience things. It just is. And allow that to be freeing to you. Allow, instead of trying to maybe correct it or repress it, allow it to actually be something that can heal you by discovering more of yourself. And I think that's a good opportunity for all of us. And our marriage is, Kim did so much of this healing before, but we are the first to say too that our partner, especially in a second marriage, can be so healing and can actually heal the wounds from the first marriage, but we have to let them.
Exactly. And you may be thinking, I didn't ask or didn't register for this kind of a program, but it made me wonder, what do we bring into that marriage? We've all had a past, we've all been hurt, we've all grown and learned from that. And most of us are now in a position that we come into this marriage as a package deal. This is what combines us all. Most of us are married at this point. So what do you bring to the table, right? Embrace the past. Embrace the past. It's something that we talked about pretty early in our marriage. Remember that it was kind of like a challenge because I had a daughter at that point. But had I not had a daughter at that point, I would not have been the person that I was when we met. And then, there's a reason for everything.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. I remember in the very beginning would say, well, Shai, I know it could look like a detriment that, yes, I come with baggage, I come with a child, but he's like, I actually would argue to say, or I would strongly say that I am the man that you're falling in love with, or that you now have fallen in love with, because of my daughter. She's really shaped me and being who I am. And I think I kind of just like nodded lovingly, like, yeah, sure. But now being a stepmom for 2.5 years and getting to know his daughter and getting to see him with his daughter, and I'm sure, Angela, your girls have prepped you, and Luis, your son, has prepped you. It's like, we really, that's the bonus to me too, is not just the kids, that they're your bonus, but really you are getting an individual that has experienced more challenges, that has had to navigate some really big moments in life, versus someone who maybe hasn't before. And so you have that opportunity to discover someone who's, if not, fully self-aware, someone who's definitely gone down some hard paths and journeys that, makes them, I think, a more well-rounded, deep individual.
Exactly. Prepped us for this marriage and this relationship.
Yes. And speaking of marriage, here we go. Before we dive into that,
yes, ma'am,
do you guys have any comments or questions or thoughts or anything about that first section? Anything? Angela's good. Okay, awesome. Right. I see pens and papers out. I love my fellow nerds. I even have one too, and we wrote this presentation. Okay. Don't ask me.
So it wasn't too bad?
No.
This first part?
Well, they're all still with us, so that's good.
That's a good thing.
No one is like...
No. Does it maybe sound a little bit, even if it were remotely familiar to what you guys have been through yourself? Maybe a little bit of a nudging there, Angela.
I just think it's really motivating and inspiring just to really embrace the thought about embracing your past, because you are who you are because of it, and not
Yes, ma'am.
being ashamed of your past,
Right.
but also being able to take control over those thoughts that are in your mind that tell you that you're not enough, that you're worthless, that you are the cause of the brokenness, and just being able to find, by controlling those thoughts, you're able to heal yourself from those
Right.
thoughts. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Because you know that you are enough.
Yeah.
You're here for a reason, and you have so much to offer the world. And I'd say those are lies right there.
Right.
They're deeply rooted, and they got there by someone who did not have the right intentions, I'm afraid. But the reason that you're here just definitely means that God says that you're way more than enough and that the world needs you.
Right. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Group hug.
No,
No, but it's true. It's very true.
at least that's how we chose
Yes.
to see this.
Yes.
But the scope of the night definitely is marriage. Absolutely. Still,
Yes.
on
So,
tonight's menu, we have the holy matrimony,
dun dun dun, serve it up.
or at least how we see it.
Yes. Speaking of how we see it, can you guys see the double, the guy here? It's like
Spooky.
trippy, man. I'm like, wait, is he looking at me or is he not? Is he giving me cold shoulder?
Okay.
But either way, we wanted to show that when you guys come into a marriage, there's two individuals that all of a sudden become one. But there's also this like third entity, this like third, it's like 1+1 = 3. And especially in a Christian marriage, we believe that it's not just the two of you, it's the three of you, it's you and God and your spouse. And so his love literally lives and grows between the two of you. And it's hard because it's something that's invisible. I know we've spoken with a lot of couples that say it's like it's invisible, but it's tangible. Like you can almost feel it. You can feel like this presence between you, this amazing connection. Hey, speaking of sex positions, hello. And yet it's something that you can feel, even though you can't maybe touch it. I'll tell you guys, this is Kim right here. He's getting bonus points for putting like scenes from almost all my favorite movies right there. But anyways, some could say that this connection could actually be an illusion, but some famous quotes that we've pulled up is love is just an illusion created by poets to fool themselves, or even Einstein himself said that all reality is an illusion. But the power of belief, as we know by the infamous Henry Ford, creator of Ford cars, said that the power of belief is that whether you think you can or you can't, well, you're right.
We choose to think that we can.
And that's what we want to share with you guys is whatever you think about your marriage is what is. Because we're going to help you guys discover what that is also, that you guys think about marriage, because we are shaped by our families. We are shaped by our cultures. So helping you guys discover what you and your spouse think about marriage is the ultimate essence, is the ultimate focus of the foundation of this course. And so, but for us, we really tend to see, we're very image-based people. Like what are those called? Analogies. We really love analogies. So we see like our marriage as being like a flower, a rose specifically, because it is something that's fragile, but that it is something that's very sweet, and it's something you want to handle with a lot of care. It's something that's very beautiful. It's ultimately like nature's piece of art, or God's masterpiece, I would declare it as, when you look at how he created woman for man, man and woman for each other right in the beginning of creation. It's also, marriage is something to admire. And that can be hard if you come from a background like Caitlin with a brokenness in your parents' relationship, but we believe that this is our opportunity as couples to really define marriage the way we want. And so, again, with using the flower analogy, it's something that can bloom, right? Every marriage has seasons. So there's seasons of growth, there's seasons of death, but ultimately you have to water it, just like a flower. You have to water it for it to grow and nourish it. It is something though that, even though in the Beauty and the Beast they tried to do so, you can't put in a frame or a jar because then there's death. You suffocate, So sometimes people have a high point in their marriage and they just want to keep it there. We want to keep it in that moment, but that's not life, We'll continue to say so much through this course that the only thing in life that's inevitable is change. And so just like your marriage, there is going to be seasons in your marriage. There's going to be, again, death and rebirth. But the horticulturist daughter that I am, my dad is a horticulturist. He cares for plants and trees. I know that pruning is necessary to help plants and trees grow and to help them stay strong. So same thing with your marriage, that in order for it to grow, it has to be continually pruned and continually cultivated. But as we know, love can be painful. This is where I would like to do a little karaoke session. Love hurts.
Are you for real?
Love. That's all I know. That's all I know from that song. But basically,
oh my
you never
gosh.
know what's coming at you. I don't think I warned Luis either. Evelyn, I'm sorry if you're trying to
cut this.
Thank you. Anyways, but love really can be painful, as this photo in my song also alliterated. But basically, at the end of the day, beyond all these other, I think, analogies, our marriage to us is sacred. It's something that should be come out with the ultimate intention and the ultimate seriousness, because we consider it basically to be our duty to make sure that this rose, this flower that we have, that it still blooms. And it blooms over the long term, right? Because that's marriage is for life. It is for the generations to come in your family, so that we will be happily married, not just now, but in 30 years from now, as we look forward. Wow, that is 30 years, 30 years down the road. And when you think of marriage in that way, when you think of marriage as a flower that needs to be tended and that it's sacred, it really makes, it makes you realize you find yourself in this situation that every conversation matters. So basically, it's not about just this conversation. So we know that there's like conversations not to labor over and not to get too hot-headed about, because there will be 2,000 more conversations in your marriage. But it's also important to know that, as Kim and I have discussed before, it's different when you date someone, when you're like, oh, maybe that's not such a big deal. I don't really need to talk about that, because who knows if we're still going to be together. But in a marriage, it is important, because you don't want bad roots to grow, So ultimately, what's most important is that you guys continue to find each other and continue to discover that why.
Yeah. So at the same time, it is not, and yet it is about this conversation.
Yeah.
It's the most important thing, more important than anything else. Not just this one, but all conversations. What we've come to realize is that there is no right, there is no wrong. It's not about who is first or who is last. There's no victims in our marriage. We own ourselves where we find ourselves to be. It's absolutely not your duty to make me happy. No, that's my duty first and foremost. Yeah. It's not a competition. It's not about being the best. It's not about being Mr. or Mrs. Perfect or having the last word. It has nothing to do with what love and marriage should be all about. It's not about you telling me what I have to do. It's also not me trying to be the most you version of me that there is. It's not me being you, and it's not you trying to be me. All we can do is encourage each other to be the most you version of you that exists.
Since we first were dating, is like, okay, how can I help you become the youest of yous? How can you help me become the meest of me's? And what does that look like? And it's a continual self-discovery as it's a couple discovery moving forward together.
Yeah. So being in this marriage, actually, we are given the greatest opportunity to make huge strides to growing closer to who you really are, but in a way that benefits all. For instance, Shai is the planner of the two of us.
Caitlin too, by the way. Just gonna throw you out under the bus there.
Yeah, but she'll admit it, that there are times that she's thinking, oh, I shouldn't plan too much and I shouldn't try to be too dominant or so.
Yeah, because there's it's like I'm trying to balance the two of those things, right? It's like I'm so used to as an individual, as even when I was a nanny, I was used to planning out my days and the kids' days and things like that. But I've never like come together with a man that I love and who has his own flow and his own family with his daughter. So all of a sudden, see, all of a sudden I'm like, I don't know what to do here. I don't know what my role is. And so we discovered through genuine conversation, kind of calling out the obvious, Kim was like, baby, what do you say? Do it.
Do it.
Do it. He's really like, I'm over here like internalizing every act or move that I'm thinking isn't wrong and right. And then he's like, no. That is part of your character. This is part of your forte. Like, please do it. Like, I don't have this. So if you're not going to do it, I'm not going to do it. And God brought you to me for many reasons, and I need you for this. And how we see this too is on the opposite end is that I am not the most detailed person, funny enough. So even though I'm a planner, I don't see the details. I'm kind of someone, I like to be productive. I like to do the most in a day that I can do possible, where Kim's more like, whoa, like, let's not just get the quantity done, let's make it quality.
Yeah,
and let's
good thinking.
Quality and quality you got that. Okay, I'm earning points too. But so just to say, our thing we want to implore you guys to do is don't hold back in these natural tendencies that you do. Really try your best to effectively communicate this to your spouse, because what's beautiful about a marriage is now you guys are no longer individuals, or as the single parents that are here on this lesson tonight, you're no longer having to be a one man or one woman show. You don't have to do it alone anymore. And so now we get to bring up one of my favorite words, which is team.
Being a team.
And if I can be so cheesy, because this is such an American English thing, guys, what letter is not in team?
Are you kidding me? You did
I. Right. Yay. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So there's no I in team, if I can be so cheesy. But therefore, we don't look at each other, but we want the other to be more like themselves. And before we dive into this, guys, we're gonna, as you can see, talk about team, but is there any comments or questions? We're gonna give a TO. Is there any comments or questions you guys have about the marriage section? Do you guys want to take a quick pee break? Anyone need to go ahead and grab water, or give us a thumbs up if you're okay?
I'm okay.
We're doing
Thank
okay.
You.
And I really like I guess feedback. I really like the point about like becoming your most authentic self, because there's so much we have in common, but there's so many things also that we're very different. Mm-hmm. That it's like a life, like you said, if we're single, then it's completely different than if we're together. And I am a lot more of the planner, and I always thought that this drove him nuts. So I always felt like I had to kind of like do so, but like a little bit on eggshells. And even like a week and a half ago, we actually, I think it was something you posted on Instagram. There was like a list of questions, and we did that for fun. And actually his answer surprised me, because it was like, what's something different about each other that we actually like? And he told me, like, I kind of like that you're a planner and that you make lists and stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
Surprised me. I was like, oh, I thought you thought that was silly or something, and even though that's like so much of how I just live my life. And also just this, I mean, a lot of people would think it's obvious, but like that point of like not fixating on having to make the other person happy all the time, because I think that's so much of what I find joy in, is that I like to bring joy and happiness to others. And then if I'm not having a good day or he's not having a good day, and then I like have to like fight to not take it personal, but in reality, like, we are still two individuals. So
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing
Thank
that.
you for that feedback.
Yeah. And that's so good. That's so healthy. Because some of the research we did when we were researching the concept of just kind of team, we discovered in some research, they were kind of sharing why so many marriages fail nowadays is because people go in with the wrong expectations. And there's so much about me, and making me happy. And it's everything from, I mean, you guys know we're talking through kind of social right now, right? We met through social. So it's like everything we see is meant to make ourselves happy. How can I, find this and find that, what makes me happy? So it's, I think, hard for our generation and the generations coming up to see the self-sacrifice and unconditional love that comes in a marriage and the beauty of how God created it. So it's good. And the beauty and the good news is that marriage is a journey. It doesn't have to be figured out all at once,
Absolutely not.
True.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, how's sweet Evelyn doing? You guys okay, Angela? You okay?
Yes,
okay.
ma'am. All right.
Awesome. Well,
team.
On that note, we will dive
continue.
more into team
Yes,
and just basically just emphasizing again that basically our differences is actually what benefits everyone the most. Yeah. It's that we tap into each other's strengths. It's true. And we know that there's couples out there that it puts them at odds with each other. But very often, sometimes it's uncommunicated thoughts and
So many
beliefs
things, but
and expectations that it could. We'll emphasize the could, that it could benefit. But I think it benefits you guys the most when you tap into each other's strengths and realize that it's not about I or you or right or wrong. And in that case, we go back to basically this Bible verse that I'm pretty sure everyone in this group will know.
Wait, you skipped a little bit of
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Big time.
My bad. Keep up with me, Kimika. Keep up.
No,
just kidding. But yeah, tapping into your strengths.
It's not all about me.
Yeah, it's not all about me.
It's a marriage.
It's about the
family.
Two of you coming together. Exactly.
Here you go.
Here is my favorite verse, without further ado, the love verse, 1 Corinthians 13. We actually came into our dating relationship going through a book that we would highly recommend to you guys, called The Meaning of Marriage by Tim Keller. And something he emphasized a lot was this verse, 1 Corinthians. This is what the book looks like, by the way, guys. You can see it. But we will, of course, anything that we have learned a lot from that we think you guys should go deeper in, we'll make sure that we plug those the resources into the Facebook group. So no worries about that. We know you guys are taking notes, but we'll make it easy for you. But basically, we started studying it for months and just breaking it down, like each little word. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. And we were just like, wow, we are discovering so many ways of how we can actually love each other better. Mm-hmm. And when you look at all these words, something that became very obvious to us that we want to share with you guys is that it became very clear to us that in order to love your spouse well and love your spouse in a way that God intended, it takes a lot of leadership qualities to be a good spouse and lover.
Yes, ma'am.
Leadership.
But please don't mistake it, because leadership has nothing to do with being the boss. As a boss, you're standing at the top and you're yelling down and you're yelling at people and you're telling them what to do and you're watching them struggle their way to the top. Whereas a leader, you're someone who, you know the way and you show the way and you help the ones around you also get to where you all want to go. Yeah. We noticed that by focusing on leadership qualities, you also get to practice a lot of beautiful traits. And if I look at these words, just a quick little Google search, I think that we all would want these traits in our spouse.
I
but
want
also
to be those things
also in
too,
ourselves
right?
too. Yeah. So by focusing on those leadership traits, at the same time, we also get to work on living out the virtues, is what we came to realize, which also seem to be a cyclical process of ever refining your character. But in order to have a marriage that works, we thought that it's very helpful to have clearly defined roles so that you don't get into each other's way, because we are on the same team, and there's a reason why in baseball there's one pitcher and in football there's only one quarterback, each to each their own, and everybody has to do their own job. So as a husband, I'm embracing this idea of servant leadership, which to me is a bit of a dichotomy, because I lead by serving my family. Still working on that one. But anyway, how can I help my family best? Basically, how do I live it out on a daily basis? In our family, the wife is the helpmate, and she's there to help the husband succeed. You do it very well, by the way.
Thanks.
So in the end, it is all about helping one another. Like Shaya already said, in this day and age, in this iPhone era, it seems as if everyone's motto is I do me and you do you, but that's not us. But I found this cover here, and it said that nowadays people are more connected and assertive and whatever, but also more miserable than ever, this generation me. But anyways, not too fast. Yeah, that's how the world looks at it. But we say, no, thank you, sir, very much. That is not us. And then people wonder why there's so much disconnection. In our family, our motto is I do you, you do me, or anyway, I help you and you help me. So at that moment, we have this constant, like a magnetic pull, pulling us back together. Where we help each other to grow. Another concept that we like to live out on a daily basis is this idea of the youest of yous. Just be true to you, be who you truly are. Because when you can be who you truly are, then that allows me to also be who I truly am. And I bless you through it, and I allow you, and I watch you grow, and I'll water you and help you in any way. And we do that to help each other. We do it together in everything, the both of us, allowing each other to change and transform. Because in the end, all you can be is just the deeply and truly who you are. That's the only thing that you can in the end. And be all you can be. Yes, please. Because I've come to a point in my life that I don't want to love a fake version of you.
Right.
No, because at that point you will be betraying both us and yourself, and that would not be long-term thinking. So we think that we do each other a great honor by staying real.
Yeah.
And yeah, we all have those ugly sides, but what's ugly to us doesn't have to be ugly to someone else necessarily. That also means that being authentic, sometimes I have to speak up. Otherwise, I would not be doing myself or our marriage a big service. And it's not always easy to speak up, but it is our duty. However, when we do so, we do try to do it in a kind way, because we see that what we have going on is like this tender, gentle rose that we don't want to hurt or want to inflict in any way. So we try to be kind at all times. And if we feel like we can't, then we go for a walk or go for a run or put on some bod or something, and then we'll talk after. Absolutely. So yeah, own your flaws. No one's perfect. It doesn't make you a bad or a worse person. If there is such a thing, yeah, embrace thou flaws. We are humans. Everybody is, and what makes us human is that we're not perfect, and
Right.
that's a good thing. The day that we are all perfect, I think that would be a very boring day. In this book, The Meaning of Marriage, we came across this this concept that it is the pressure that reveals the cracks, because the cracks are there.
Yeah.
Stay with me here for a moment. Both on a street or in a bridge or whatever, but also in us, in our hearts, or in my character, or in whatever, there are cracks. There are, no one's perfect. We have our own history. So then the pressure reveals the cracks. So when you're in a marriage, you might find yourself in circumstances where there is a lot of pressure.
And it doesn't mean that the pressure, I think often is misunderstood, that it creates the cracks. Many times they're there. It's just the pressure of two people coming together as one exposes
the cracks. And the cracks would be there if the pressure was not there. But because we weren't married, I didn't see them. And now all of a sudden we're married, and all of a sudden there's all these things wrong or whatever, and the cracks get exposed. And I don't think that you can blame the bridge if it every once in a while collapses. Anyway, own your flaws before they own you. Admit to yourself, no one's perfect, but own your imperfections. Yeah. It's been mentioned before. We have a history, we've had our past. Some of us walk around with feelings of guilt that would only, I think everybody has to some extent feelings of guilt, feelings of shame. We are all hurt. We all want to heal, need to heal. And we see that in a marriage, you really can heal. It does take, of course, openness and honesty, very much. Yeah.
And it's one thing, I think, to also remind yourself that when you're not being open and honest, you're actually hurting. You're hurting, and you're betraying yourself, but also your spouse, and ultimately that third entity, that usness between the two of you.
Yeah. When I'm not being open and honest, I am actually betraying on you and me in our marriage. And so we see that a marriage has this overcoming quality. You can overcome whatever you've had to go through. We also know that the spouse that we married in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, in 50 years, they will not be the same spouse. And neither will we, I hope. I hope not. So we know that we are going to change, and we know that we are changing. Our past does not define us, right? Where are we at? We are evolving.
Continuing to evolve.
People change. We change.
And as you're changing, guys, it's important to, make sure that you allow it, and you allow it in your spouse as well. Everything, as I mentioned earlier, the one true thing in life is change. It's inevitable. And, I think maybe we've all heard it at this point, that some people say, oh, I'm going to marry you and I don't want you to ever change. You're perfect for me right now. But that's unrealistic, because your spouse is going to change. And maybe that's what happened somewhat in some of the past marriages here that we have in our group. Maybe the people changed too much and their expectations were off, or perhaps that the two spouses grew apart. They didn't change together. But we want to let you guys know the good news is that you can actually change together. You can grow together as you change and grow in this life.
Yeah. We know that nothing will last forever. So how do you want to spend the time together? We like to embrace the discovery of the new ourselves. Getting to know yourself in like this whole new set of unique circumstances, living thousands of miles of where you were born. Maybe
as a wife, now as a stepmom, as a stepfather, as a father and a husband. It's a lot. There's a lot of new circumstances that are put on all your
news, another new things that you've never done before in your life, and you will sooner or later have this feeling like, who am I? Who have I become? And I think that's only normal. And that we can share this, when you can share it, when you can talk about it, help each other. I think that's a very awesome idea just there.
Good old Gandhi.
Another Gandhi.
Yep. Be the change you wish to see in the world.
Your turn.
Well, and with that change, there is the opportunity as a married couple to be intentional with your change. There's change that happens without us trying, and then there's the change you guys can intentionally do together. So something that I hope you guys are still with us, because we are going to give a little foreshadowing to another homework assignment we have coming to you guys this week. Is we want you guys to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I think marriage is awesome at that, right? It really forces you to get uncomfortable very often. And so something in our marriage that we actually realized really just brings our intimacy to new heights and really connects us is by getting out of our comfort zone. So for some people, like for you guys, it may be stepping outside and within Corona measures, but taking an art class, maybe trying some new cooking. Luis, I tell you, I want to take a cooking class with you. I'm excited to learn more about that. Maybe trying some theater. You can always go ahead and, especially if in your family, if you have multiple languages, yearn to learn a second language together. Challenges the both of you. Maybe together. You both try something new is always the best case. But even if, say, it's something that you're kind of okay at, but your spouse is going to be challenged, like that can be an opportunity for you to help your spouse through it too. And turn it around. Exactly. And have an opportunity to show your strength, not as a like, haha, look at me, but like a, hey baby, like, let's do this together. I know this is hard for you. But when you put yourselves through these challenging opportunities, you actually find a way to cope with feedback. And this is where we see so often in our own research, but also just in couples that we interview to prepare for this course, but also our own experience, is that there is actually a big difference between criticism and feedback. And I love this chart. And again, we will get you guys a copy of all these slides so you guys can print this or go through this. But it is something I think that's often confused in marriage, is that very often in the world, a lot of people feel that they're getting criticized when actually it's aimed to just be feedback. So we want you guys to look at this as I share a little bit of my own experience. So funny enough, we all relate over workouts here. And when I first moved to Belgium, Kim and I started using Bond. We started working out together. Kim has a teacher's heart. He really loves to help people become their best selves. He is in the details. We would put on our bod workouts together, and all of a sudden I had my own little, Sean T in the room. I had my own little personal trainer. Like, I was doing push-ups. Oh, but they were not the correct form. And Shaika, you got to put your elbows in, and then you're not going down deep enough.
You're welcome.
And exactly. And I was hard enough on myself. And then I was like, what the fudge, man? Like, get off my back. This is not what I want right now. I'm already sweating. So you can imagine in the beginning, again, guys, we learn from our own mistakes. In the beginning, my anger level was, I was a volcano. I was really not handling it and not taking it. But it was a two-way street. I think Kim learned he had to be softer with his approach. But I also had to take ownership in that I was being, I don't know if the word's a little too sensitive, but I basically was looking through my past hurts. We kind of realized, okay, I've had critical people in my past. I've had people who've been very critical to me, but that's not you. You are not criticizing me. He genuinely wanted to help my form and wanted to help my posture. So we really had to come to the same page and realize, wow, okay, so you're only here to help me and you are safe. And I had to learn how to basically not just give feedback, which I'm really good at, right? But it's receiving the feedback and realizing that in those moments, had we not tried something new, and it was a workout, guys, like that I was being challenged, and it was a workout that I was already really frustrated with. I was having a hard time. So I put myself out of my comfort zone. And but it allowed us to discover new things about ourselves, and it allowed us to grow in intimacy because we organically learned how to accept feedback and how to communicate it well to each other.
Yeah, because when you do it in things that are fun and simple and easy, then when there's harder things to cope with feedback, then you're more used to it, right? You get to practice a little bit.
Yeah, it makes those hard conversations, especially in blended families. You know, you are dealing with exes, you are dealing with children that are being raised between two homes. You have many external family members. Many of us are living thousands of miles away from our families. So there is a lot of challenging conversations and circumstances that our families specifically find each other in. So that's why, again, we always want to bring it back to literally the root of it all. Is that's why we want you guys to have that strong foundational marriage so that you guys can grow through anything together. And what's great is when you're intentional about your change, when you're intentional in saying, okay, baby, we're going to try something new. We're going to grow out of our comfort zone. It allows you to build each other up. It allows you guys to set each other up for success because you basically help each other become stronger and better than ever before. So it really doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. As we definitely said before, that your spouse, love hurts, right? My infamous singing there. Because I'll spare them.
Yeah, thank you.
But because our spouse has that power. Many of you guys actually came up with words of affirmations being very high in your love language, and us as well. That is both of our second top love language. So we know that words mean a lot, like words mean a lot to each other. So with knowing that, we know that, wow, we have the power to really build each other up, but also we can really break each other and cut each other down. So our goal is to continue to help our spouses believe in themselves beyond what they believe in themselves and come together and unite and continue to tune out, I think, the external people, whether it's exes, whether it's ex-family members. Sometimes our kids can be really critical. Angela, I know you deal with really critical stepchildren sometimes. And so we just have to learn who to tune out. And just remember that spouse, again, can really build you up. And as a spouse, use that opportunity to build that strong foundation, as we see here, this couple here walking together united, and to make it even stronger so that you can actually build something that's not just like a little doghouse, but I mean, come on, build each other up to new heights, as this skyscraper shows beautifully.
Well said.
Thank you.
You're on a roll.
Thank
Keep
you.
going.
You want me to keep going?
Look at that, hanging at your lips.
Not just you, huh? Well, and what's awesome also, guys, is when you go through challenging times, when you purposely put yourself in the fire, so to say, willingly and together, united, making that decision, you have the opportunity, as fire does, to purify. You get that chance to really discover what are your virtues, what are the things that matter in your marriage. So you don't let anyone else define your marriage, but you define your marriage. And you get to embody these things, but you also get an opportunity to heal the old wounds, because whether a broken marriage or not that you come from, we all have old wounds that we need to heal. And by focusing on love, by focusing on what brings you guys together and unites yourself, that's how you guys get to heal your souls. And by, of course, bringing God's love that's purifying and redeeming and the ultimate source of love, that's how you really become united and unstoppable force together. And you both become the best version of yourselves that you can be. And then your marriage will also be what you guys are intending and hoping for.
Lifting each other up.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. You get to transcend wherever you are, wherever you were, whoever you've become. Am I taking over?
Go for it.
By focusing on the marriage and on the love that you have for each other, you get to become a bigger person, a bigger lover than you would be without this marriage. And I believe it reveals the bigger person that is within you. However, all of these things always through communication.
Have you guys heard that word before? Give us a thumbs up if you guys have heard communicate. Communication is key, right? Like he's doing like praise hands right there. Are we still good? Going strong?
Evelyn's good.
You guys okay before we begin the next section? Everyone's good?
Everyone's
yeah.
good.
Caitlin, did you have something you wanted to say? Do you have something hanging on your lips?
I'm gonna just step away for 2 seconds to grab a snack.
Please do.
Do it. Fuel up.
Ooh.
Awesome. Go for it. And yes.
All right. So through communication, of course, that's a big one. And we've had this concept all throughout our dating long distance, this idea of over communication. Whenever, wherever, whatever it's all about, you always have the right to over communicate. We believe it's better to over communicate than it will be to under communicate. Always, please feel free to ask more questions, clarify anything. We will never get upset or angry or frustrated. We just want to make sure that we understand each other, that we are on the same page. Of course, we also have this different language barrier. So sometimes we do get lost in translation, and we just want to make sure that we do understand each other properly. Ladies,
I'm glad that's not my picture.
Beware. It's not a green lights to just, no, that's not what it's about, of course. But yeah, that's our thing. That's how we come about it. In the end, we would want you to find something that works for you guys, and then of course hone in on that thing. But that's how we go about it.
And I think that something that's key in our over communicating is that, and this is something, again, organically kind of came to us in the beginning. We were always about over communicating, just talk it out, speak it out, make sure there's no room for miscommunication. But then we realized that the next step was comprehension.
All right.
Yeah, well, we wanted to make sure, sorry, I guess I skipped ahead, guys, but sorry, we want to make sure that one of our other key principles is that they're always forgiven. And again, this is something that you have to talk about with your spouse, because this is us. Now, everyone else comes from their own experience, and they may have different expectations. We know that we've spoken with couples who there are certain things, especially culturally, that their parents and their family just didn't talk about. And sometimes they bring those things into their own marriage. So that's why you guys have to literally communicate and see, okay, how do we communicate? What works for us? What is something that we can stand upon? And so again, in our marriage, it was just basically this thing where we said, you know what, you're always forgiven. It doesn't matter what you say. I know sometimes I've asked some really deep questions about his relationship with Billy's mom. Just really personal things. And again, for Kim, that wasn't off limits. For Kim, that was, doesn't matter. Say it, please ask it. Like, let's not let that get in the way of our intimacy.
Okay. What I'm trying to really drive home with this "you are forgiven" is that when there's misunderstandings, when there's miscommunications, when we assume that the other person automatically knows what we are trying to say, if something goes wrong, it's not her fault, it's my fault. And if you're communicating with me, it's not my fault. Something went wrong, but we take responsibility. It must mean that we did not translate it well enough, make the message come across well enough. And that brings you.
Sometimes I think we just did that right here.
Exactly. Now we're talking about.
Yes. Now, guys, sorry that I jumped ahead a little bit, but the comprehension is so important, because there are things that you can communicate and literally bring breath to the words and say it time and time again. But if your spouse doesn't comprehend what you're saying, if they don't actually deeply understand what you're saying, no amount of words are going to help solve the issue. So something that we learned along the way too is, because there's a language barrier, we did really, even the simplest things, like an example.
It's okay.
Oh, so you mean it's no, I was going to say, so even in our house, the two words, it's okay means two different things. Like when he says it's okay, I'm like, oh, so it's good, like we're good, right? Like, and then
Never
when I
mind. Is that
say,
what it means in
oh,
English,
sorry,
right?
yeah, it's okay. Yes. So
In English.
yes, in English, when someone says it's okay, it's kind of like, oh, don't worry about it, never mind. But when I
And
say it's okay,
in Dutch, it means like, yeah, we're good, we're on, it's okay, keep doing it. And you think like, oh, I
they're
shouldn't
saying
keep doing
never
it.
mind.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So it's little things. That's a very simple example, but sometimes it is those things that you have to communicate.
What do you mean when you say it's okay?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Get into that deeper understanding. So we actually, again, another preview for a homework assignment that's going to come to you guys this week is we are going to have you guys do a write your own declaration of like communication, basically. But we'll go deeper into that in another time. But just know that we're going to help you guys get to that space so that you don't have to figure it out on your own, that you guys can figure out your own communication style. And
because in the end, it's all about getting on the same page and also staying on the same page as life happens, as you go about doing your daily things. Before you know it, we're not on there no more. So how can we get back on that same page?
Yeah.
In the end, it's all about our core values, right? What do we stand for in our marriage? What is important to us? So that we can say, hey, baby, I hear you. I feel you. I'm there. I will always be there. I will always find you. There's no separation there in this marriage and this you and this I. We're one. We're in this together. Be one with your spouse first, right? Because a marriage, that is the foundation and the most important relationship in your family, maybe in your life. I think if we were to ask couples who were married for 80 years, when the marriage ends, of course, the family ends. So therefore, we always try to remain open. We always try to listen. We also have learned that it is okay to disagree. We agree to disagree. Yeah. We don't always have to think the same way. We don't always have to see things eye to eye. And we believe that there's a hidden treasure there. It allows for some richness to learn from each other and to embrace the differences. And so, yeah, in the end, what would we say? It's all about overcoming those small little barriers,
finding a way,
whatever it is that's holding you back. Find a way, get over it, get past it. It's about focusing. It's a 9-week program. I think it's like focus on what you can control nowadays.
9-week control,
right? And yeah, how about those expectations? Is what we expect, is it always realistic? Do we always ourselves live up to even our own expectations? And keep talking too much. Never stop talking too much. I think that's the biggest mistake that we can make.
Yeah.
Get back on that same
and make it
page
together.
again. Yeah. And I think that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. The man of the hour here.
Yeah. I thought we would be going on for like 3 hours straight when I was making all this stuff.
Well, maybe that's because the original one you would have been, but
probably.
As we said, guys, there's so much out there, right? There's so many things that we could talk on for hours. But again, that's what's beautiful, is that you guys are our lifers. And so we wanted to bring you guys a strong foundation and something to build off of for the rest of the weeks, as this is a crash course. So that's how we really bring our marriage through the highs and the lows and bring each other closer together. But ultimately, the things that we felt through our own experience, but through research too, that we wanted to bring you guys to, again, start yourself off either on a strong foundation or maybe reclaim your foundation if you guys have been together for quite a few years, and really navigate your family moving forward with a strong union as a couple.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really great.
Awesome. Is there any questions or clarity or things that stood out, or things maybe you still were like, I didn't really get that? What was that meaning? No pressure to answer tonight. You guys can think about that, but just wanted to give you guys the opportunity.
Before we go there, may I ask, is this like an information overload? How does this all land?
To me, I think,
Sir.
I think to me would have helped more like if I had seen on the screen like keywords of all the info.
Sir.
Yeah.
My wife's already told me about that, and you can expect that will be coming up, and we will also remember that for upcoming classes. But yeah.
Also, I found very interesting the thought of the team when you were talking about that topic. I like the analogy that you were doing with a football player and the baseball player, that everybody knows what their role is in the game, in that case, in the team.
Right.
For me, I was asking myself, okay, what are some ideas or some ways that we can use to not try to or to define those roles? Like, what has worked out for you? I mean, of course, we can talk about it, and communication is a big thing that we can expect, because she's with different cultures, and maybe she's expecting something, I'm expecting something, but then we get
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Lost in translation. We know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so maybe it would be also like a nice help for us, or to give some information about how can we navigate through that path of finding or defining our roles within the marriage.
Okay, good question. Thank you so much.
I'm writing that down, Luis. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome feedback.
Awesome. And to tailgate off of what he just said about roles, just the idea of not only in the marriage, but as parents and step parents, and how to navigate those roles.
Yes,
I don't know if we're going to get to that next class, but
Exactly.
You are on the right track, Mama.
Exactly.
The thought came to me, so.
Awesome. And it's so true, because Luis, I loved what you said, and Angela too, that is a difficulty, because I think we sometimes know that the roles are important, and we know that the defining them is essential, but it is hard sometimes how to get there. It's hard, so how do we figure it out? Sometimes we know, well, I think this and I think that. So, okay, where's the overlap, or like, where's the opportunity to come on the same page? So that is definitely something we would be honored to help you guys with, and we'll work on that to bring that to you guys.
Absolutely.
And
awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Gonna say, I also really like how you guys are just very transparent about your own experience, and also kind of like debunking a lot of what like society will try to tell us, like that, okay, on one hand, I've heard so many people say, oh, marriage is the hardest thing you'll ever do. Like, it's, and I have so many people that I've seen growing up that have had failed marriages.
Feedback.
Yeah. And then, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you're back. You're back. Okay. Okay, now you're good.
Okay, like on one hand, I've had so many people that I've seen in my life and in my family that have had failed marriages. And hardest thing you'll ever do. and it puts like a lot of this like thought of pressure and like intimidating and like, oh my gosh, you know. But on the other hand, there's like, you know, society telling you it's like rainbows and butterflies. And so I think a lot of like what you were saying about expectation versus reality, because like the reality is that like it's a mixture of all of that. Like it's hard, it takes work, it's also beautiful, there's also romance, but not every day is going to have all of those things.
Right. Exactly.
And I think where you were talking about like the seasons and the ups and downs, and like a lot of that feels almost like self-explanatory, but it's also, I think, just very good to like hear it.
Okay.
You know, with all of these other just very specific approaches of like communication and like think through your expectations, because like we have not even really ever talked about like what was our expectation before we got married or something. So I think there are details, like you said, that these conversations can just go on and on, which I'm excited about. I like to talk about stuff.
And we hope that they will go on for many decades to come, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm very glad to hear you say that, even if it just was the idea of question any thought or any belief or any truth, or it's not because someone tells that it has to be a certain way that it definitely for you too has to be a certain way. You have that freedom to, together with your husband, to get together, and what works for you guys is most important. No one else has anything to say about that. But thank you. That's a very beautiful insight.
Absolutely. And that's what these live Q&As that we have on Saturdays, that's what it's going to be more of this, you know, we're not going to have a specific teaching, or there's not going to be a PowerPoint. We will have some structure to it. We'll have some potential, questions to lead the discussions, but this is what we're really going to get into, because we also know that on Wednesdays, you guys are going to be more in the seat of the student, and you're going to be writing notes and trying to digest everything. And we also know that you guys have been through quite a week. Every week we'll be having you guys do different exercises and talking a lot, where Saturdays we want it like to be our hangout, you know, like where we all just like, okay, get it out. We've been digesting this all week. So you get a chance to really just after it's sunk in a bit, getting to be able to air your feelings and your thoughts about it all.
Yeah. On that note, please expect the PowerPoint, but also the words. Louis will be also sending them over to you guys so that you can go through it. Yeah.
Awesome. Angela? Yeah. Yes, we will. This is being recorded, and so if you guys want to jump back in, our actual material, our lesson started at about the 30-minute mark, but we'll save this and send this to you guys as well, so you have a copy of it.
Great.
Perfect. And is the call on Saturday also the same time?
Yes. Does that work for you guys? I think is your son with you guys this weekend?
Yeah, but I think by the time that we have that Q&A, will be free.
Yeah.
I mean, he will be already back to his mom.
Okay. And Angela, that works for you too, around this same time?
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
Angela, how did you enjoy, if that's the right word, today's lesson program course?
I definitely enjoyed a lot of it. I always feel like you speak a lot of truths, and you are very open and vulnerable and sharing, and I love that, and I admire that. And I think a lot of the things that stuck out to me here at the end, we're talking about flowing, or where it says allow, flow, and grow, and then intentionally change together, and then like owning your flaws before they own you. I thought that was very like, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Something very simple, right?
Yeah. you know?
Yes and no.
Yes, simple to say and think and desire, a little harder to do.
Right? Yeah.
So, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
When we give all of
Appreciate
you
it.
guys full permission to not get like all of this and to not immediately be like, yes, we're going to do this, or this makes so much sense. It is like a course like this. It is a crash course for a reason. And it's a lot. What we love is that it is a lifelong journey we're going to take together. You know, there's going to be times for you guys to practice this out in your own family. And sometimes we think the biggest gift we can give you guys is sometimes a simple awareness, like bringing awareness to these things. Angela, like you said, there are so many of these concepts that are quite simple in understanding and in conceiving, but just harder in the doing, you know? And sometimes it is something that takes a lot of repetition and going over and over and over. But you know what? That's what we're here for. We're really, our truest heart is to build community here. Like you guys are the first 3 families that are joining us and trusting us, but we see this growing, and so that our families can have a community of like-minded, like-hearted people that have also grown through some of the similar struggles and battles.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm inclined to say pick one concept that stood out tonight and play with it the next couple of days. Think about it, try it out, talk about it, and just play. I don't think this is something that you can do like all at once. I think as health coaches, you also know that if you want to lose 50 pounds in a week, that's not healthy and that's not sustainable either. So small incremental wins, I think that those work the best, right?
That gets you to that, well, not the finish line, because we don't feel like there's any finish line in health or in marriage, but they get you along in your journey, you know, step by step, and you get stronger along the way.
And the biggest, most important muscle to build is that habit muscle, I think.
I think I got a couple of those. Yeah. Is there one more slide here that we had to give to them? I know. Evelyn's loving it.
So yeah, what's next? You may be expecting 2 more assignments this week. We have this declaration of nuptialization.
That's all him. That's his word. Honestly, when I first read nipple, I was like, wait, nipple? What are we doing? What? But it's basically, you guys have heard of the Declaration of Independence, right? Of course, the U.S. thing. Who hasn't? So we wanted you guys to write. Don't worry, we're gonna lead you guys through this. But a declaration, put it on paper of basically like what your nuptials.
What are you guys about?
Yeah. What defines your marriage? Like what values, what virtues do you guys stand upon? I think Angela's finally, it's connecting. It's there.
Communication.
I love it.
Awesome. There you go. You got at least 1 fan. Okay, 2.
I know everyone. I think
everyone liked it.
So yeah, get something in writing, get something out in paper, get something that you get to agree upon and that lives, always is there for you guys. And we would like to challenge you to plan, not tomorrow, not next week, maybe next month or whatever. Do something that could be like uncomfortable, but also fun at the same time.
Yeah.
Get outside of your comfort zone, stretch that a little bit, get a little bit uncomfortable together, and also get comfortable at the same time while doing so.
Yeah. And we're going to send this to you guys too with some ideas. We would actually love to have this be something, if we can all, agree to have it be something we do within a month, maybe towards the end of our course together, so that we can all share feedback, share what we did, what you guys learned through it, that kind of thing. But as you guys know, we are in this Facebook now group you've got that lifetime membership. So it'll just give you guys that opportunity to get uncomfortable, have fun, and then share with us all about how the experience was.
Learn a new language or learn how to cook, Caitlin. Just giving there.
That was a little drop there.
I don't know.
I'm trying. I'm doing lots of Beachbody recipes, okay?
True.
Today, this amazing vegetarian quiche, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Quiche, it was delicious.
Yes.
It was delicious.
Did she
Yeah.
send me
One
the
red,
recipe?
one yellow, one green, 1 teaspoon, and 1 orange. Perfect for time nutrition. And the containers.
Wow, now that really
Awesome.
speaks to us. All right.
Do you think,
Awesome.
And I believe, go ahead.
do you think that the date night should be, well, ideally something that's out of both of our comfort zones?
Uh-oh.
Or if
Leaving us some
needed,
pins and
would it
needles
be-
here.
Hello.
They're frozen again.
Hello.
Angela can hear us. They can't.
They keep freezing.
Yeah.
No,
Your children don't have to be there. Oh, they're
Okay.
back.
There you are.
No, okay.
I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's okay.
You were saying?
We don't have to, I mean, I guess I didn't need to ask this question, but would you say that it's ideally something that should be out of both of our comfort zones, or like if needed, then it's like one that for each of us that's like uncomfortable for each of us, if it's like,
Whatever works best for you guys.
okay.
That's what I would
I
say.
have an opinion.
I'm sure.
I would say to make it even, right? To go for the one that would make you both uncomfortable, although I'm probably making him
But
uncomfortable
then there's
right
less
now.
feedback.
You just want to give the feedback. No. Or I see what you're saying, but then that just means that maybe have fun and choose two dates. One where it's more of Luis's forte and then the other is more of your forte or something you have experience with. I'm just reiterating. And Angela as well, you and Justin finding something that you guys can do. Oh my gosh. Can that be, look at that's
Thank
like
you
an
for
Olympic
your.
story.
Can you just like
opinion,
pass
Rosemary.
her through the camera so I can talk with her?
Come on
She is,
over.
like,
You
the
can
most
come
delightful
play.
little baby.
Just
Look
like
at
that
this
quiche.
photo.
You can give that quiche through the camera too, though.
Quiche through the camera. I love it. And speaking of, guys, would you mind if I got a quick photo of us right here? Of our little crew here? Okay. Ready? On the count of uno, dos, tres. On the count of tres. Uno, dos, tres. Awesome.
ma'am.
I'll get you guys that. Was there anything else we needed to say?
No, Caitlin, whatever you prefer. If you guys both want to do something new or you want to step in each other familiar territory, whatever. Saturday night, live, around the same time. And next week we will dive into more of the parenting.
Yes.
Looking forward to that already.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
that's what's coming up. So just stay tuned to the Facebook group. We'll get these two assignments. We'll continue this connection. And we just thank you guys for your time tonight and your feedback. This was awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you too for
One more.
everything.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much.
Was there something else you wanted to say?
I just want to clarify, are we good?
Yep.
Good.
We're good. All right.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so very much.
Yes. Enjoy that beautiful baby. And you guys have a great night and finish that snack or enjoy that. Oh, look at you.
Oh.
Spasiba mucho. Hasta la próxima. I'm just going to let him add that accent. And we bid you adieu. Yeah?
Adieu.
Adieu.
All right.
All right. Good night.
Bye, guys.
Guys,
Thank you.
hasta la vista, baby. Besitos, besitos, besitos. Mission control. How funny is that? Stop sharing, maybe? And then I think it says recording, so then we just have to stop. And Marilyn, Yev, we love you too.
Yeah, man.
Reach out to us at all, anytimes, and we can do a little personal little Q&A with you guys too, because we want to hear your
Yeah.
feedback.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you guys hopefully on the live on Saturday.
Yeah, and Justin, looking forward to
Yes.
seeing you too, man.
Yes. Bye, guys.
Absolutely. Good evening. And good night.